Love positive parenting? How to become a positive parenting coach. Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I have been coaching parents now for 3 decades, and it's one of the most satisfying things that I do. I've found that when the lights go on for a lot of parents, they actually want to start helping other parents to have the same kind of breakthroughs. I've got 5 specific steps you can take if you want to become a positive parenting coach. Step number 1. Learn the control and maturity model. The model that I'm referring to pits control against maturity. Now don't worry about writing all of this down. I'll send you a copy of this if you just go to the URL on the screen, drpauljenkins.com/stages. I'll be referring to this model occasionally in our conversation today, but this is what every parent needs to know about control and maturity. Here's the short version. When we look at the model, you'll see that control goes up against maturity in this way. Let's start with control. Control means control over your own life. And you can have 0 control, that's way down at the bottom of the graph, or 100% control, that's way up at the top, and usually it's somewhere in between, 0 and 100%. Maturity is on that bottom axis, and it goes from immature to mature. So when you think about it in terms of age, for example, when you're just born, how much control do you have over your own life? Hardly any. Well, what about when you're an adult? Okay, I know that there's some fine print that you're already thinking about, but for the most part, we control our own lives when we're an adult. So the model shows that as we increase in maturity, we get to have more and more control over our life. You'll see that under the line is self-control, over the line is others. What others? Well, parents first. Right? If kids can't control their own life, they need their parents to step up and take an appropriate level of control. Now, as kids get more mature, parents back off a little bit, and the control is shared. That's why this model is so important to someone who is a parent, and especially to someone who wants to be a parent coach. This is the model upon which all of the other coaching is based. And understanding this model is essential if you want to take that step. Now, here's step number 2. Practice the control and maturity model in your own home. I think as coaches, we have to practice what we preach. And I only preach what I practice. So practicing this model puts you in a position to have direct experience with it and an understanding of it that is far greater than just learning it on a video on YouTube. As you practice applying this model in your home, pay attention to the stories that come up for you as you interact with your kids and as you practice this model. So to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, I'm remembering a time when my kids were little. All of my kids are grown now, so they are mature enough to be controlling their own life, and they don't eat my groceries anymore. They're off running their own households. So that's at one end of that spectrum. But when they were little, I had to share control with them. When I was having a conversation with my 16-year-old son, and he was asking, "Dad, can I go to this party?" I asked a clarifying question. "Tell me more about the party." It's not even a question, it's an invitation. He didn't want to tell me a whole lot about the party because he was pretty sure I wouldn't approve. Now, going to the model, he was old enough to have a fair amount of control in his own life. But this model has more to do with stage than age. You'll learn more about that as you get into the model. I didn't feel comfortable about the party that my son wanted to attend. So my response to him was, "It's up to you." Now, I said this because I knew that even if I told him I didn't approve of the party, he still had the ability to control that. In other words, sneak out or go without my permission. So I didn't tell him he couldn't go. I don't control that. What I did tell him is, I'm not giving you permission to go. And this created a dilemma for him. He looks at me like, well, so can I go or not? And I said, it's up to you. I'm just not giving you permission to go. So if you go, you're going without my permission. See, I'm acknowledging that he's mature enough to have control over his own life. I'm not going to try to control that. What do I control? Well, I control the consequences for going without my permission, but he gets to choose whether he's going to do that or not. Now, let's contrast that with a younger child. I remember I think it was my daughter at the time, when she was maybe 3 or 4 years old. And I said, sweetie, let's go to the store. And she said, I don't want to go to the store, as I was strapping her into her car seat. Okay, because her level of maturity was so low that it required a lot of control on my part. I can't go strap my 16-year-old son into the car seat. He's got more control over his life. So understanding this model, practicing it in your own home, becoming familiar with how this relates to things like discipline and activities in the home and how we structure the rules and organization of the home. This is huge. So get to know this model, practice it in your home. Once again, go to the URL on the screen if you don't have a visual copy of the model yet, drpauljenkins.com/stages. And I'll also connect you to the other ways that you can learn more about the model. There's other videos here on the channel, for example, where we go into a lot of detail about it. That's what comes first. Now, as we get to this third step, I wanted to share with you an experience I had just last week as I was in a meeting with a Hall of Fame speaker, Mr. Dan Clark, who has been one of my mentors and a friend of mine in the Speaking Association. And he said this. He said, sometimes we learn to know, and other times we learn to do. Think about that distinction for a minute. As you learn the model, the control and maturity model, you might learn it just to know it. But what if you were to learn it to do? Here's step 3. If you really want to move forward and start sharing these principles with other people, start sharing these principles with other people. What I mean is identify 3 people in your life that you could teach this model to. Can you think of 3? Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a sister, maybe it's somebody in your own home that you could teach this model to. Why? Because our brain handles learning to do differently than it handles learning to know. This will give you some direct experience with actually sharing the model and will be part of an important journey toward your ability to coach other people on this. Another thing that I love about this step is that it will inform you about what's missing. You know when you try to teach someone something and you're like, and you can't even remember certain aspects of it? Well, that's important. That's part of the process for you to share it. So pay attention to what it is that your brain tells you still get to work on as you teach this model to 3 people. You got it? Here's step number 4. Get some coaching, some mentoring, some training. You don't have to do this on your own. And there are obviously people who are in position already to help you become a coach of others. If this is a brand new idea for you, or even if you've considered it for quite a while, it's time to take that step. And if I can help you with this, I'm happy to do that. In fact, let me put up another URL on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call. When you go there, you'll come right to a calendar where you get to talk to a member of my team about whether we can support you in this journey. So get some coaching, get some mentoring, get some training, and if we can help you with that, that's what we're there for. And that leads me right into step 5. Everything that you want that you don't currently have is outside of your comfort zone. And you might feel a little stretched thinking, oh, I want to coach some people on this. It's kind of exciting, but I'm a little nervous about it too. You will get to take courageous action Anytime we do something that's outside of our comfort zone, we get to raise our comfort zone to the level of our calling. Most people try to downgrade their calling to the level of their comfort. But if you really feel that this is part of you and who you get to be and what you get to do as you move forward, then let's bring that comfort level up. That means you get to take courageous action. Courage implies fear. All right, if you don't have any fear, then it doesn't take any courage. And if it's outside of your comfort zone, it's going to trigger some of those natural feelings for you. So I like the way Dr. Susan Jeffers put this in her book. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That title is amazing. And it captures this idea. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Allow yourself to stretch. So once you get a coach, a mentor, someone who can train you and hold you accountable, then take courageous action to do the actual steps that mentor or coach is encouraging you to do. This puts you in position to really help others. So do you feel like this is in your future? Remember, I've offered you a breakthrough call. Set up that call. Let's have a talk about that. You can talk with me or a member of my team about what steps you might be able to take or how ready you are to move forward. drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call. We'll see you there.